Coming up on the CODE Bet Daily NRL Show, we have found Phil. He is literally in the middle of Poland, but he's that committed to the show. He is back for semi-final week. Phil, you're here.
I'm prepared to say I'm making history this week, podcasting rugby league betting from Poland for the first time ever.
I'm not sure anyone in Poland knows what rugby league is, but you know what? Phil knows what it's about, and that's what we're here for, because it's the CODE Bet Daily NRL Show, and it's coming your way right now. Welcome to the CODE Bet Daily NRL Show, the semi-final week in the National Rugby League, and this weekend proves it's the National Rugby League because the finals are in Melbourne and New Zealand. I'm your host, Alex Donnelly. I am joined by Phil, who is somewhere deep in the heart of Poland. It is currently 8:11 a.m. there. He looks like he's had 6 hours sleep since he's left, but this is his commitment to CODE Bet. He is here for the NRL Show. How are we, Phil?
That's it, mate. That's it. I'm doing well, and you could not be more correct. Deep in the heart of central Poland, a good hour away from the nearest city. Truly testing the boundaries of internet as we speak right now. It looks as though I do have a strong enough Wi-Fi connection to actually pull through this, which is fascinating. And yeah, trying to stay on top of the footy back home as much as possible.
It's a good thing that there's only 2 games this week, 2 next week, and then, of course, the grand final. So there isn't too much to delve into, but let's not mess about. Of course, we are from CODE Bet, so go check out the website. A lot of stuff going up there. Phil is punching away with his previews as we speak. Stats Guy's been helping out a little there. We've got some first try scorer looks as well as the AFL final looks and, of course, EPL, NFL, and everything else going on. But let's start off with tomorrow night, Friday, 7:50 p.m. The Melbourne Storm at $1.40, minus 7.5. Take on my beloved Sydney Roosters at $3.80. You can actually get plus 11.5 for the Chooks. The over-under is 39.5. Melbourne have won the last 8 games that they've played at Amy. They've got a ridiculously good record against the Roosters. I think it's 7 of 8. They've covered in those 7. And I think in finals when these two have played, unders is the play here. But these teams are the literal walking wounded coming into week 2 of the finals, Phil.
That's exactly right, and that's why you're seeing that these last-minute line adjustments as well. Because I wrote up this preview yesterday, and the line was pretty steady at 11.5. But we've more recently heard that Jahrome Hughes is highly unlikely to, take his place in the Storm team. So that's where you're seeing that swing back to 7.5, and it does leave me a little bit gun shy as well, because I was kind of coming into this feeling like it was going to be a Storm 13 plus job with, them just kind of putting the foot down, at some point in the second half and pulling clear. I'm not so sure now. I still look at both of these back lines, and I think one looks like a side more likely to win a New South Wales Cup premiership. One still looks like an NRL backline, that being the Storms. The Roosters, obviously, without Joey Manu and Joseph Suaalii, and they were kind of already stretched anyway. But, they've got a good 4 reserve grade players playing in this backline this weekend, which is going to make life really tough on the edges. The Storm all of a sudden don't look so competent either. We knew that they lost Xavier Coates and also young Tonamapea as their left centre, but his replacement is Justin Olam. And they've got Remus Smith coming in to replace Coates at left wing. So I wasn't quite as concerned about those replacements as I was the Roosters on the flip side. But now with that Jahrome Hughes, those things do start to stack up. So it leaves me a little bit in 2 minds about how this one will play out. I suppose we can get into the try scorers as well, but there are just so many outs for both of these sides.
Yeah, well, that's it. Before Coates was ruled out, you just would have gone straight to him. He'd scored 7 tries in his last 3 against the Roosters. I suppose For the Storm, you're looking at Will Warbick. Like, he's got a good record this season. Cam Munster, of course, in big games, much to every New South Wales fan's chagrin. And then across to the Roosters, it's going to have to be James Tedesco really winding the clock back. He's got 6 tries in his last 9 final games. And you just feel if the Chooks are going to be any chance, Luke Keary and Sam Walker have to be the 2 best players on the ground by a long way.
Yeah, exactly. And Keary's been in really good form as the Roosters have hit their straps across the back half of the season. I think we're still kind of expecting a bit of rocks and diamonds from Walker. It was a beautiful left to right pass that set up a try last week for the Chooks. He's capable, I suppose, but Cam Munster's probably the best player in this game, if it's not Harry Grant. And, I still think the Storm have the quality at home to get the job done. As you mentioned, they've won their last 8 games at Amy Park. They've covered in 7 of their last 8 against the Roosters. So that's what makes this task look formidable for a Chook side, which looks like it's just about naming a reserve grade backline, as I've mentioned. And the Storm have won both halves in each of their last 4 home games as well. So I don't, the Storm halftime, full time, there could be a bit more value there if you let that market settle off the back of this Jerome Hughes news as well. I don't mind Nick Meaney as a anytime try scoring bet. Without Jerome Hughes, he's going to have to step up a little bit more as well. And the Roosters are just going to look so vulnerable on both edges. So I think there will be holes to be made out there, with some of his second man play. There's still the Storm backline is still more than competent enough to create opportunities in that attacking part of the field for Melbourne. I still think the Storm win. I'm just hoping to see where that line settles. It's been the Roosters have now had to be perfect for about 6 weeks. Yeah. And at some point, I think that journey just becomes quite taxing. And there'll be a time in this game where if the scores are roughly level and the Storm find some momentum, I just can't see the Roosters having the resilience to stick with them, which could mean a couple of late Storm tries, and that's probably where I'm leaning. Where the Storm do look vulnerable is on their left edge defence. We saw all 4 of the Broncos' tries last week come down that side of the field. It was Reece Walsh, it was Jordan Ricky, it was Katoni Staggs as well. So that's where the Roosters are going to need to target. That's where I think James Tedesco could find something. He's got COR Wong, the young boom right edge forward on his outside as well, hopefully running some decent lines for them. So I like Tedesco as an anytime try scoring option at $3.45 on Ladbrokes. COR Wong is $5.60 via Ladbrokes anytime try scorer. So that's where some of the value is. But yeah, the over-under is so low as well in this one as well, 40.5 points.
Yeah.
And you could have got $2 for that last night on Ladbrokes as well. Whether that drops even further without Jerome Hughes in the team, we'll have to wait and see. It looks like Tyron Wishart will be the one covering him there. I don't know. Something tells me that is just such a low over-under, and if the Roosters can, manifest 1 or 2 tries in this game, I think the Storm can still score enough points to trouble that over-under line. So I'm still angling that over is where the value is as far as that proposition goes, but there's just a lot of uncertainty heading into this game.
Yeah, well, that line is now, as I've got up Ladbrokes now, that line has come into that plus 7.5 for the Roosters. So that 11.5 is long gone. I feel, for me, if the Roosters are going to win this game playing that side of the fence, it's going to be unders. It's going to be something like a 14-12, 14-10, where just a penalty goal and a couple of converted tries gets the job done. But where it'll be a real defensive scrap, and then obviously the Roosters get blown away by the Panthers next week. But that's what's got to happen for the Roosters to win. If the Storm win and win it well, I feel like that, as you said, that over could be the play there. But let's get across to Saturday night over at Mount Smart Stadium. The New Zealand Warriors host the Newcastle Knights. Now, for the Warriors, Shaun Johnson is coming back in after missing last week's game, which was smart. They were never going to win that game anyway. Dylan Walker returns to the bench, but for the Knights, after that pulsating win over the Canberra Raiders, Jackson Hastings is out, as is Lachlan Fitzgibbon with a shoulder injury. So it's not at all ideal there coming into that. The Warriors are pretty short price favourites currently at $1.54 with a -4.5 line. The Knights, $2.55 plus 5.5. The over-under's 41.5. And as we know, the Knights have won 10 on the bounce. And like you just said about the Roosters being near flawless for the last 6 weeks, well, for the Knights, it almost feels like it's coming to an end here. It nearly came to an end last week. They got away with it, and now it's just like, we have to fly to New Zealand. Ah, crap.
Yeah, exactly. And you would think that the Warriors can just arrest some of the momentum that they lost last week, returning back home. The latest on Shaun Johnson is that he trained solo on Wednesday, I believe. He won't train with the group today just to give his calf every possible chance. Obviously, in a do-or-die game back home, you just have to play him.
You got to play him.
Yeah. And the Warriors have just been too good to, this season to let what happened last week define their season. And I think they've shown enough resilience, and enough on both sides of the ball. And they've just had enough contributions across the park to think that they'll be able to bounce back after last week. The Knights, obviously, they might have similar to what I was saying about the Roosters. Like they've been on this incredible run now, 10 straight. When does that start to create fatigue in the group, mental fatigue? And maybe it was having to go the distance against the Canberra Raiders last week in what could have been their sort of their final, which is why I'm leaning New Zealand in this one. With that line at 5.5 points, the Knights, they can keep this one close for sure.
The Warriors haven't covered for the last month. They've been horrendous despite, winning games. So it's just like they've been keeping other teams in it or getting blown away when they've been beaten. Yeah,
and I don't place too much credence into that though either. They basically sewn up top 4 3 weeks ago, resting players and sort of just waiting for the finals to arrive in a sense. Look, I think this one can get over 41.5 points. There's enough good players in this game. Shaun Johnson back in the team. That right edge is going to be lethal for the Warriors, of course, with Dallin Watene-Zelezniak on the end of it. He scored at least one try in 6 of New Zealand's last 7 matches as favourite. Dom Young and Greg Marzhew, one of those guys is going to cross for 1 or 2 tries. Kayln Ponga, he scored a try in 5 of his last 6 away appearances. So look, I'm leaning the Warriors in this game. I'm going to tip them to cover, but I think that is truly a toss of the coin with the line set at 5.5 points. The value would be with Newcastle there to cover. My personal feeling is I'm taking the Warriors. I just think that maybe it's the romance of it all, but I think the Warriors just they've had a good enough season to warrant getting themselves into a preliminary final. Not to take anything away from what Newcastle have been able to do over the last 2.5 months, but I think the Warriors. This is truly the week where home ground is a huge advantage with teams facing such a taxing period, and obviously no team is going in fully healthy either.
Yeah, and it's looked like sort of the Warriors even last week and that game against the Dolphins, like, well, we're going to get a home final no matter what in week 2. If we can get to that and ideally into a prelim, then it's sort of a massive tick for the season. This is the one you absolutely don't want to lose. And just having a look, I wouldn't be surprised, given sort of a bit of the fatigue on both teams, if this is the game of the two that really opens up, and similar to that Raiders-Knights game last week, it opens up, like, we can hit the bit here for Jim as we hear him. Thanks to Jim. Now, in your hungover state here, please rate this that I threw together earlier this morning. So the Warriors to win 1-12, Marzhew and Ponga both to cross the paint, but Watene-Zelezniak to score 2 or more tries, and that comes out to, hopefully it updates, at $62.16.
That's substantial.
Yep.
I like it.
I swing hard. I swing hard when it comes to these ones. Like I thought, as I said, I think this game will open up a bit. And for the Warriors, you think Watene-Zelezniak will score a couple of tries if they're to win. And Ponga's just, his shoulders that full of that many jabs at the moment, he won't feel anything. And Marzhew's been in great form all year.
Yeah, exactly. And the Knights can concede tries out wide as well.
Yeah.
Watene-Zelezniak, he's obviously not that this is any great analysis, but he's scoring a ton of tries, and he can do it in multiple ways as well. We've seen him score via the kick through the air as well. He's a massive chance to score more than one try. And both of those Knights wingers have just been in supreme form. They're pacey, they're big, they're physical, they're tough to bring down close to the opposition try line. So I like that. Ponga, again, numb shoulders, so, can't feel anything. Why not?
Booked him in for surgery next Wednesday after Mad Monday wears off. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm on board with that. I'll give that. Obviously, it's a long shot, so I'm giving it a 6 out of 10, which is better than a 50-50. Midway 5 out of 10. So look, I think you got to be happy with that.
Yeah, we'll take that for a long odds on thing. But okay, so that's the two games that we've gone through and previewed. We're sort of leaning towards the Storm, and then in this game we're leaning towards the Warriors and the over. As I hit the bit,
it's best bets. It's best bets. It's time for all the best bets.
Of all of these things that we've talked about throughout the two games, it can be an over, under, a line, a margin. What is your best bet for this weekend in the two games, Phil?
Yeah. Okay. So I look at it. It's probably just coming back to this this Storm Roosters game.
Yeah.
I like Nick Meaney to score a try in this one at $2.85. With Jerome Hughes unlikely to play, my sort of inkling is that the Storm will try and attack more down their left side of the park now. The Cam Munster side of the park. Nick Meaney scored a bunch of tries playing out the back of Munster that way this season. He'll have Justin Olam and probably Remus Smith to his outside on that side of the park as well. So I think at least a hole or two opens up. So to get $2.85 on Ladbrokes there is pretty good. With all the outs, there's just not a ton of good try scoring bets to be made in this game. I had Marion Sever as first try scorer as a long shot in this one, paying $19. As the right centre in this Storm team. I don't hate that. I just think there's so much value considering he's going to be going up opposite either Momirovski or Corey Allen. That said, with Jerome Hughes now out, maybe that side of the park doesn't quite see as much juicy ball off the back of Hughes's ball playing. So a little bit more unsure there, but there is just a stack of value with that one. So yeah, Nick Meaney to score a try, the Storm to win, and I think the Storm still cover.
I like it a lot. For me, my best bet, I'll keep it nice and simple. I think the Warriors win and we hit the over. You can get $2.90 about that on Ladbrokes. Righto, Phil. We are done and dusted for the semi-finals here on the CODE Bet NRL show. We'll allow you to go back to exploring, surviving, whatever you're going to be doing for the next couple of days in Poland and wherever else you be. Hopefully you'll be able to find a seat to watch Brighton beat the pants off Manchester United this weekend in the EPL. I'm sure you'll be keeping a close eye on that no matter where you are.
Indeed, mate. Indeed. I was actually, I had my brother's wedding in Spain last weekend, so I'm on the road to recovery now. Very quiet back at my partner's hometown now, so I'm just going to be taking it very easy. The small village is called Rusko, so I've been calling this little part of the trip Rusko Rehab, so I'm just recuperating before the weekend. I haven't actually checked yet, but I'm hoping that Optus Sport don't have a VPN ban, so I can catch all the Premier League action still. I've been learning which streaming platforms have their geo blocking in full service. We'll be watching Brighton whip the pants off Man U at Old Trafford this weekend, and I've actually been crunching the numbers on a little trip over to the UK to catch Brighton at the Amex up against Bournemouth next weekend. So that's what's in the pipeline over here in Europe right now.
This is why you're doing the show today. We can pay for the trip.
Exactly. And I have been I've been told by my partner's sister, who lives in a city up the road called Poznan, that we're going to try and get to the Poznan derby this weekend in Polish football. Lech Poznan up against the other local mob in what could be a furious affair.
Please take videos and send them to us. We will put them up the CodeBet socials, like showing everyone that we're everywhere. And I'm going to shock you. Say good day to your partners, Babcha and Jardush. Yes, I know some Polish.
There you go. you know the Poznan? I think Sydney FC do it, where they all jump up and down facing away from the pitch. Yeah. The Poznan. I'm going to the Poznan derby. So there you go.
That is fantastic. Well, Phil, we will let you go. We will catch you here next week for the NRL preliminary finals. Hopefully the Wi-Fi connection's a bit better and you are feeling a little bit healthier. But as always, check out CodeBet on all of our social medias: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, X, and of course, Threads. Check out all of Phil's written previews on the website. They are up there now. I don't know if he was doing a CM Punk preview there or the Elon Musk X sign, but we'll catch you later, Phil.
Yeah, no, it was the Elon Musk sign.
Make sure you gamble responsibly, punters, and we'll be back next week for the CodeBet Daily NRL Show.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.